for you personally, what has it been like for you? What has stood out to you overall? And I guess in today in general, what stood out at camp?
Yeah, so me and Sean McGuire have really kind of been the tag team down here for Nesson.com. And something that we focused on every day is Drake Maye, seeing what he looks like, the progression. How does he look compared to Jacoby Brissett? Who is he playing with? Kind of everything. Every day we've written a story called Drake Maye Watch, and it's here's everything that he did on this day. Today, I noticed that we're seeing a little bit more of the special athlete and player that he is that made him the number 3 pick. I think you saw his athleticism a little bit today. He took the ball and ran with it. Is that because he had to? Because the offensive line couldn't hold their blocks? Yeah, probably. But you could still see, these are plays that are going to actually play in real game situations. And he was able to air it out a little bit. I think they've really kind of kept restraints on him throughout practice in the early portion of camp. Today, you saw him air it out. He didn't have any completions. There were no highlight plays. He had a nice shot in the corner of the end zone that he did connect with. It wasn't really a deep shot, but I think they're loosening the restrictions a little bit recently, which is really all you really want to see out of a guy that isn't going to start early in the season, maybe not even at the midway point of the season, but you want to see them gradually move him along and get him to a point where you would feel comfortable if he has to play in a pinch.
I like that term, loosening the restrictions on him. Now, he's 21 years old. He's a young kid. How do you think he's kind of handled stepping up to the position he's in right now and knowing that he's sort of behind Jacoby Brissett right now, but there is a chance that he can step up sooner rather than later within the season? How have you seen him, just as a kid in general, kind of approach this opportunity so far through camp?
I think he's done a really good job. He hasn't really been thrown to the wolves in terms of media and the responsibilities that come with being the starting quarterback, because they have said Jacoby Brissett is our starter. So when Kay Adams comes and she's interviewing the coach and the starting quarterback, it's Jacoby Brissett. It's not Drake Maye. He doesn't have that responsibility, and I think they've done him a favor in that sense. But when he's out on the field, he's very clearly a leader. We've talked to his teammates. They've said he'll pick us up, he'll give us direction, he'll tell us what he needs out of him. And I think out of a 21-year-old kid, like you said, who's coming into a place where he knows he's expected to be the future of the franchise, he's done everything you can ask of him so far off the field. And then on the field, like I said, he's gradually getting to a point where you need him to be.
What has it been like, the progress you've been seeing with Jacoby Brissett? Because as it sounds, as what I've seen when I've been down there at camp, Jacoby's, and Gerard Mayo said it, he's a week 1 starter coming out of the spring, right? That's what he said. And he should be the week 1 starter he is right now. But what's the progress you've seen from Jacoby Brissett in this offensive unit? Because as much as everyone's looking for when Drake Maye makes his debut, and whether that's week 7, week 17, or week 1 of next year, the offense still needs to go out there and put together some competency. So what have you seen from that unit with Jacoby as it's progressed through camp, and especially at today too?
Yeah, Jacoby looks pretty good. I think you can clearly see that he's more comfortable than anybody else in the system. Austin Hooper had played in it in Cleveland, so I think he has a familiarity as well. But Jacoby clearly looks like he knows who's doing what at all times. He knows where the ball needs to go, where he needs to be. He's delivering it on time. I think he's looked about as good as you could expect. Jacoby Brissett is a career backup. Let's just call it like it is.
Yep.
But he's coming to a spot where he's going to be the day 1 starter, and he's viewed as the day 1 starter for the first time. And I think he's handled it really well. Just kind of the same thing with Drake, where he's maybe not exceeding the expectations, but he's where you would want or need him to be. And then in terms of the offense overall, there are growing pains, right? But I think that comes with playing against one of the top 3 or 4 defenses in the NFL in practice every day. Keon White's not going out there and helping out his offensive pals, trying to get him into the swing of things. Like, he's out there to knock somebody in the mouth, and he's done that. So there are growing pains. And Demario Douglas hasn't been out there in team drills every day. Kendrick Bourne's not out there every day. The offensive line is banged up. The offensive tackles, they are rotating. They're giving guys 3 or 4 days in a row starting and then moving them back along. So you've gotten a lot of different groupings. So are they finding the familiarity with each other, and are they getting comfortable? No, not really. But I don't think it's been the disaster that we've seen the last few seasons, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, that's a step in the right direction at least. Now, you talk about Jacoby just being very comfortable, visibly comfortable in his role. And, we've heard him mic'd up and everything. He's quite the animated guy, bringing a lot of energy to practice and whatnot. But between him and Drake Maye, there's a 10-year age difference. And I think we kind of heard that too. I think Drake Maye was talking about playing a video game at one point. Jacoby's like, hey, I don't play video games. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll take your word for it. But what has their dynamic been like? I think it's obvious that Jacoby Brissett is, he's a veteran of the game. He knows day to day kind of what happens a little more than Drake Maye might in his position so far. But how has that veteran status kind of seeped through and shown to you between the young quarterback and Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, we only see them when they're on the field, so I can only see what I see on the field, and that is they're in a competition. It's not like Jacoby Brissett's not helping him out at any point or anything like that, but they're at two different spots. I think the Patriots have been very intentional about there's going to be one person in Drake Maye's ear, and that's Alex Van Pelt. And, Ben McAdoo is there, and Jacoby's there, and he knows the offense. And Bailey Zappi has been here, so he knows New England. But there's one person in Drake Maye's ear, there's one person directing him, and it's Alex Van Pelt. And then obviously quarterback coach T.C. McCartney plays a big role in that. But it hasn't really been like a big brother, little brother situation. It's been pretty businesslike. I think the Patriots have done that on purpose. I think if they asked Jacoby to go out there and put his arm around Drake, he'd have no problem doing it. But I don't think that's what they want. This is, Matthew Judon, we talked about it when we talked about him. Football is a business here, and they know, Jacoby knows this might be his only chance to be a starting quarterback, and Drake knows that eventually he will be the starting quarterback, and he needs to go earn it. So very businesslike, but there's no contention or anything like that. They're just a couple of guys going out there trying to earn the same job.
Yeah, I remember one day I was at camp, you saw it, where Drake Maye checked into a different type of play to beat a blitz and beat a coverage, executed at that, and Jacoby Brissett was as fired up as anyone. So I think he understands his assignment too. You said he's a career backup. He knows what it is. Wants to come in, be the starter, earn the job, keep it, and compete for it, and show he can play in the NFL. Because also just 31, he can add on years and value to his NFL career if he comes out and executes as a starter, shows himself as a leader. And certainly there's a market for that in the NFL. Just go ask Chase Daniels, who's made millions and millions and millions just to be a backup. But Keegan, I say all that to ask you this. You know where my eyes are every day, every practice when I'm reading about it or I'm watching it. Are there any updates on the offensive line? You alluded to the tackles being shifted again. But the entire success on the team hinders on who are the five guys up front. If they can keep Jacoby healthy and they can keep Drake Maye healthy whenever he's under center. But who are the left and right tackle, or any updates there?
Yeah, Chukwuma Okorafor, who I think is the only set starter at tackle. We know he will start. Just is it on the left side? Is it on the right side? He was out today, so standing in street clothes on the sideline, not great. Calvin Anderson and Darian Lowe were the two starters. Anderson on the right side, returning after a one-day absence on Saturday. Lowe on the left side, where he's been the last four practices. I think the Patriots are kind of staying on the plan that they've had, which is 4 days at one spot, 4 days in another, and then you rotate back to second group. They've done that with Caden Wallace, Darian Lowe, Chukwuma Okorafor. So I don't really know who's going to be the starter across from Okorafor. I don't think anybody does. If they say they do, they're putting their own kind of opinion on it. I would say if I had to guess, it's going to be Okorafor and Wallace. Who's on the left side, who's on the right side? I have no earthly idea because they both played both sides at an even pace. So that's your answer. It's a bad answer.
It scares the hell out of me. You gave me the truthful answer, though. You know what? I just need the truth. I
wish I could tell you that, Caden Wallace looks tremendous. Yeah. And Chukwuma Okorafor has taken veteran days off because he's the set starter and he looks great. They don't. The offensive line looks pretty not great, I would say.